welcome back to Grim and Whim. Today we will be looking into the unsolved disappearance of Ashley Summers, who mysteriously vanished in Cleveland, Ohio in July 2007. She was only 14 years old and was thought to have possibly run away from home, but there are details in this case that point to potentially more insidious possibilities. But before getting into the timeline of her case, let's look into what we know about Ashley's life before her disappearance. Ashley Nicole Summers was born in Cleveland, Ohio on June 16, 1993. Her mother is Jennifer Summers, and her biological father was not in the picture. However, despite his absence, Ashley was always loved by her large, close-knit family who lived nearby. Ashley was Jennifer's firstborn, but she later met a man who became Jennifer's stepfather, and they had 5 more children, making Ashley the big sister. Quick side note, as I was researching this case, I couldn't help but notice the huge amount of similarities between Ashley's life and my life. I was also born in the summer of 1993, and I have a huge extended family that lives nearby. And I'm also the oldest of 5 kids, and I had to step up and be in charge quite a bit as the oldest. And for Ashley, this was also the case. And Ashley was often tending to her younger siblings, helping out her mom by babysitting, taking them to the park and doing different activities with them. And Ashley was known to love being a big sister. She was a huge help to her mom, and she genuinely loved spending time with her younger siblings. Family, just in general, was very important to her. Ashley is Caucasian with brown hair, blue eyes, and at the time of her disappearance, she was about 5'5" and 130 pounds. I was looking through pictures of her, and she definitely looked like a girl in the early 2000s, so it sort of brought back some nostalgia for me just seeing her pictures. One very unique feature was that Ashley had a tattoo with the name Jean in black ink over a red heart, and this was on her upper arm, and it was the name of her boyfriend at the time. Obviously, as a teenager, she sometimes got into arguments with her mom. This is very typical. You start to sort of put space between you and your parents. You want to be more independent. And this tattoo, as well as some other behaviors, were creating tension between Ashley and her mom.
At the time Ashley disappeared, Jennifer says her daughter was going through some serious teenage problems.
She was hanging with the wrong people and they were influencing her in the wrong way.
Ashley stopped going to school, got her new boyfriend's name tattooed on her arm, and moved into Jennifer's uncle's house.
Ashley would sometimes skip school, and she was hanging around a group of friends that her mother, Jennifer, didn't really approve of, and she kind of felt like they were being a bad influence on her daughter. Ashley frequently spent time at other relatives' houses. When there was tension with her mom, she would go to one of her uncle's houses and hang out or sleep over. And this was something that was very normal, very typical, just to kind of ease some of the tension in the house and just give her and her mom a break from each other. And up until this point, it had been a very safe option and hadn't really been an issue. Leading up to her disappearance, she had gotten into an argument with her mom, and she went to Jennifer's uncle's house, and so this would be Ashley's great uncle. Despite the disagreements that Ashley and her mom had, Jennifer reported that they were very close, and sometimes they were more like best friends than mother and daughter. They loved to go to amusement parks together. They loved watching scary movies, and it really wasn't until Ashley got into her teenage years that she began distancing herself from her mom. And like I said, this is something that is very typical. I went through this, and it's something that they were kind of just working through the best that they could. But Jennifer never thought that when Ashley left, the house to get, a break from her and to go live temporarily with her great uncle, that she would never see her again. This was definitely not like Ashley to not reach out or talk to her family. So now that we have a little bit of a background of Ashley and her family and a bit about what her life was like before her disappearance, let's move on to the timeline of the case. So Ashley left her Cleveland home and went to stay with one of her mother's uncles, and his name is Kevin Donathan. She had apparently packed all of her clothes and took them with her. And when her mom called the uncle to check on Ashley, he told Jennifer that Ashley had left that day without saying anything to him about where she was going. And so he assumed that she had just decided to go back home. And obviously, Jennifer is now freaking out because Ashley's not where she said she would be. And then she's obviously not home.
He told Jennifer her daughter left his house that day without saying a word.
I called my uncle to check on Ashley, and he said that she thought she went home. And so I began to call other relatives, and no one had seen her.
So Jennifer frantically called around to all the other relatives to see if they had seen her, but nobody had. Another concerning thing was that Ashley left her phone behind, and she had only taken the clothes that she had packed with her when she left Uncle Kevin's house. And because this is not like Ashley, Jennifer immediately called the police to notify them that Ashley was missing. Authorities believe that her last sighting was near the intersection of West 96th Street and Madison Avenue. But now, based on new information released by the FBI in 2021, it is now believed that she was actually last seen a day earlier in the area of West 44th Street and Trowbridge. And after days passed and no one from her family had heard anything from her, Ashley was reported missing to the Cleveland Department of Police on July 11th, 2007. In the early parts of the investigation, Ashley's disappearance was treated more like a typical teenage runaway case and nothing more. Everyone expected Ashley to return to either one of her aunts and uncles' houses or return home to her mom in a matter of days. And police initially reported Ashley as a runaway, likely due to the recent tensions with her family. However, her family still to this day does not believe that she disappeared from her uncle's house on her own accord. As time has passed and more details have come out, it is clear that there is more to this case. Ashley reportedly called her mother 1 month after she went missing, telling her not to worry and that she would be okay. This call came from a private number because, like I said before, Ashley had left her phone behind. And so, other than that phone call, there really hasn't been any way to trace Ashley. She doesn't have, a debit card or any banking information. She didn't have her cell phone. And so, other than this private call, there has been no way to figure out her whereabouts.
About a month after her disappearance, Jennifer says she gets a strange call from a private number.
I answered it, and there was Ashley on the other line that said, "It's me, Mom, I'm okay, don't worry." Click. Yeah. At that moment, I was 100% sure it was her. But now, when I replay it, I'm like, was it really her?
The FBI joined the investigation in 2008 when the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children alerted the FBI Cleveland field office about Ashley's case. At the time, there was another missing girl from the west side of Cleveland named Gina de Jesus, and Gina was one of 3 women who were held hostage by Ariel Castro. And if you're not familiar with Ariel Castro and the kidnapping and attempted murder that he was charged for. I'm not going to get into the entire story because there's a lot to unpack, but I definitely recommend looking into it. But I'm going to just kind of quickly brief you if you've never heard of the case. Basically, between 2002 and 2004, Ariel Castro abducted Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Gina De Jesus from Cleveland, Ohio, and he held them captive in his home. And these three women were imprisoned at Castro's home until 2013, when Amanda Berry was able to successfully escape with her 6-year-old daughter. And the 6-year-old daughter was actually conceived and born while she was imprisoned, because horrifically, Castro not only kidnapped, but also sexually assaulted and raped these three women. Castro was sentenced to life in prison plus 1,000 years in prison without the possibility of parole. However, 1 month into his life sentence, Castro died by suicide by hanging himself in his prison cell. The reason why I'm bringing up Ariel Castro and this story is because there was a thought in the initial investigation that maybe there was a possible connection between Ashley and Gina's disappearance because they were similar in age and from the same part of Cleveland. There was even speculation that Ashley may have been one of Castro's victims. However, no evidence supported this, and Ashley's case became an independent investigation. Law enforcement interviewed family members, neighbors, and anyone who could possibly have any information regarding Ashley's whereabouts. And Gene, Ashley's boyfriend at the time, and his family, they all cooperated with the authorities, and there really hasn't been any evidence that foul play was involved on Gene's part. There was also no evidence that when Ashley left home, that she stopped by her boyfriend's house at any point. In 2015, a woman was caught on video surveillance at a Rhode Island ATM, and she had a very similar look to Ashley and her age-progressed photos. And an alert was put out regarding this by the FBI to see if anyone could identify this woman. However, the woman was eventually identified, and it wasn't Ashley. Another alert sent out was for the tattoo artist who did Ashley's tattoo on her forearm. And the FBI basically asked that the tattoo artist come forward, but no one has ever come forward. Years passed with no new information or leads in the case until 2018. A series of inquiries as a result of the investigation into Ashley's disappearance led to the discovery that Ashley's great-uncle, Kevin Donathan, was actively abusing young children. This is the same great-uncle that Ashley ran away from home and went to live with. He was indicted on multiple accounts, including rape, attempted rape, and 5 counts of gross sexual imposition. He pled guilty, and in 2020, he was sentenced to 35 years in prison, where he still resides. Now, I said before that Ashley liked to hang out at various relatives' houses, and Uncle Kevin's house was one of the houses that she hung out at a lot. In fact, it was seen as one of the main hangout spots where Ashley spent a lot of time. But even with these charges and information that has come out about Kevin Donathan, he has never been officially labeled a suspect in Ashley's disappearance, and he hasn't really given any insight on what happened to Ashley. In April 2021, the FBI dug up land in the area of West 43rd Street and Train Avenue, and this is near West 44th Street, where authorities believed was the last place that Ashley was seen alive. Animal bones were found on the property, but there was no sign of Ashley. There have been no verified sightings of Ashley Summers since she went missing, And sadly, while this case is still being actively investigated, there hasn't been much progress made in her case. Before discussing the theories, I want to stress that these are theories and everyone is innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. We can speculate, ask questions, and form opinions, but at this time, there are no confirmed suspects in this case. With such a lack of information in this case, it really is difficult to theorize what may have happened to Ashley. It is, of course, always a possibility that she made herself disappear and she ran away from her life. But even though Ashley had a complicated relationship with her mom, she was from a very close knit family and she loved her family. She loved spending time with her younger siblings. And she was also very fond of her boyfriend and her friends. So it's strange that she would just up and leave all of them behind and start a new life. While it is strange that she took all of her clothing with her, there is no mention of whether or not she had any type of money on hand when she left. And she also didn't take her phone, which is pretty weird if you're thinking about leaving long term. How could she have run away with just her clothes on her back and managed to sustain herself all on her own all these years later? So, if she did decide to run away for good, she must have had someone to help her. And at this point, it's kind of strange that nobody would have come forward to at least let the family know that she's okay. It is also bizarre that there have been no sightings of Ashley at all. By now, someone probably would have recognized her, or there would have been some evidence that she is alive. I mean, she has to somehow get a job, an apartment, whatever. How is it that there's no trace of her? I'm also inclined to agree with the family that it doesn't seem super likely that Ashley was really planning on leaving for long term or for forever and just have zero contact with anyone in her family. So the next theory is that Ashley Summers left home and then ran into some kind of trouble. And the trouble in question can range from anything. It could be from being abducted or possibly trafficked, being murdered or met with some other, form of foul play. And this could have been from anybody, a stranger or possibly somebody that she knew and trusted. Polygraphs were given to several of Ashley's older male family members, but the results of those tests, or even which family members were given the tests, have never been disclosed to the public. The FBI has reported that this was simply standard procedure to perform the tests, but they weren't especially suspicious of any one of Ashley's family members. But with everything that came out about Ashley's uncle in 2018, it is surprising to me that authorities don't see him as a person of interest in her case. It's just surprising to me that they haven't gone back and done any other questioning. But there is a chance that they have, and it just hasn't been reported to the public for whatever reason. That brings me to the final theory, and that is that Ashley left home to go spend time with Uncle Kevin and was met with foul play. And again, this is only speculation. There is no hard evidence that suggests that anything happened to Ashley when she stayed there. And maybe nothing did happen to Ashley, but maybe she saw her uncle doing something bad, and maybe her uncle needed her to keep quiet. We don't know the exact nature of Ashley and her great uncle Kevin, the relationship between the two, but considering the sexual abuse charges with these other children, it isn't outside the realm of possibility that he could have also have had some sort of sexual relationship with Ashley. And it's horrible to even think about, but there could have been sexual abuse happening there. And unfortunately, sometimes children, even at Ashley's age, even being a bit older, sometimes they can be groomed by an older family member and still go back to that person. I personally find it very strange that more investigation wasn't done in looking into this uncle, because even before the sexual abuse charges, before these charges came up in 2018, I'm surprised they didn't look more into this uncle, considering he was the last person to see her before she went missing. However, there is a possibility that authorities did do extensive investigation and research into the uncle and nothing came up and they had to just stop there. This case is just so frustrating due to the lack of information and evidence. And it's also frustrating not knowing whether or not she is even alive today. I truly hope that more information comes out about Ashley Summers and that there is some sort of resolution or closure for Ashley's mother and her family members. I can't imagine being one of her younger siblings and just growing up having no idea what happened to their older sister. So if you have any information about Ashley Summers and her whereabouts, or any information regarding this missing persons case, please contact the FBI Cleveland at 216-522-1400. And I will put that information as well as the information for this case in the description section of the episode. And with all that being said, thank you for listening. Be safe, and I will see you in the next one.